Okay, so today we are doing a tag video. Why? Because I have to film 4 videos today and I need an easy one to put in there because I'm tired. But also because these tag questions look pretty interesting. So let's do the book addiction tag. There are 14 questions. Let's chat. Question number 1, the longest amount of time you can comfortably go without picking up a book. I guess that varies because some days I can't go a day without picking up a book because I love to read. It's my favorite hobby. But sometimes I'll go a whole week and feel really fine with not just reading little bits here and there because I don't feel like reading. And I think that's pretty normal. But for the most part, because it's my favorite hobby, I'm a little bit obsessive and I read pretty much every day. Question number 2, how many books do you carry on your person, physical or device, at any one time? I always have a physical book with me wherever I go because physically reading, that's probably fine. I always have a physical book with me wherever I go because physically reading a physical book is my favorite type of reading. And I always have an audiobook on my phone. I much prefer physical reading and I get through audiobooks way slower because I pretty much only listen to audiobooks while I'm cooking dinner every evening. So I get about 30 minutes to an hour and that's it. So it takes me a while to get through a book because I read a decent amount of large books. But I always have an audiobook with me when I'm out. I rarely listen to an audiobook when I'm out because I have a 3-year-old and when I'm with him, he talks a lot and I love that and I like to listen. I unfortunately don't read ebooks. I think it's my dyslexia. I just have a really hard time reading from a screen. Question number 3, do you keep every book you buy/receive or are you happy to pass them on to make space for more? I do. I usually will only keep 4-star and 5-star books. Every now and then I'll keep a 3-star book. But for the most part, if it's a book that I loved, I want to talk about a lot, and I'm definitely going to go back and reread at some point because I'm a big rereader, I want to keep it. If it's a book that I thought was fine, but not really for me, there's just no reason for me to have it on the shelf. For me, people can do what they want with their books, but for me, if I'm not going to reread it, I will pass it on to either my niece or the library. Question number 4, how long would you spend in a bookshop on a standard visit? Probably 30 minutes to an hour. I love browsing bookstores. Where I live in a smallish town, I guess you could say. I guess it depends on your perspective. I grew up in a town of 200 and this town has 1,400, so it seems large to me, but probably to you it seems small. Anyway, it's a small town. We have one bookshop and it's a small bookshop, but I love it. And when I'm there, I'm usually there for a good chunk of time because I want to look at every book they have on their shelves. Even if it's a genre I don't typically read, I want to see it all before I finally pick the 2 or 3 that I'll buy. Question number 5, how much time per day do you actually spend reading? I talked about this in my dyslexia video, which I filmed today. I'm still wearing the same clothes. I talked about that a lot in that video, so I'll link that video if you want to hear me talk about it more. But the amount that I read in the day, I allot 1 to 2 hours to read, just physically read every single day, just depending on how busy the rest of my work is. But I know that that's not typical for people, especially during the work week. I just happen to be able to work it into my work schedule because my channel is kind of part of my job. I mean, it is. I just don't like viewing it that way. I still like to see it as a hobby, but it is a job. There's something wrong with me. Okay, moving forward. And then I also listen to an audiobook when I cook dinner every night, as I've mentioned. So there's a good amount of reading happening. Question number 6, where does the task picking up a book appear on your to-do list? I have no idea how to answer that. What in the world does that mean? It appears from 1 to 3 p.m. That's my reading time. Sometimes 1 to 2 I'll actually spend working if I have a lot of work to do that day, and then just 2 to 3 will be reading, but 1 to 3, that's my reading slot, or 2 to 3. Is that what they wanted from that question? I feel like I answered that wrong. It doesn't matter. Question number 7, how many books do you reckon you own in total, including ebooks? I don't own ebooks. I don't know, and I'm not gonna count. I'll show some videos. I'll overlay. These are my read books. I've read almost all of these, but a couple of these I just have together with the series. But I've read almost all these books, and this is my TBR shelf for traditionally published books that people have sent me, and then this is my TBR shelf for self-published books that authors have sent me. So a lot of books. Question number 8, approximately how often do you bring up books in conversation? I guess it depends on who I'm talking to. I don't know. If I'm talking to a friend who's a huge reader, then we talk about books a decent amount, but we also talk about a bunch of other stuff. So maybe half-ish of our conversations are about books. And if I'm talking to someone who isn't a reader, I don't bring up books because that would be weird. Question number 9, what is the biggest book page count you have finished reading? Okay, Oathbringer isn't in here because I'm currently rereading it. But that book is about 1,300 pages. And the next biggest book is going to be The Count of Monte Cristo, which is 1,276 pages. So Oathbringer wins. It's Oathbringer. Question number 10. Is there a book you had to get your hands on against all odds? Search the bookstore, online digging, stalking an author? What? No! Why would you do that? I guess, yeah. No, not stalking an author. What's wrong with you? Okay. There was this one book, okay. It was years ago. I was in a big slump. I wasn't liking anything I was reading, and I realized it was because all I read was one genre. This was back when my channel was very young. It was before I was me. What? Anyway, I started trying to find booktubers who read really different stuff than me, and I tried to find some books that looked mildly interesting that were really different from anything that I've read. I found The Butcher's Hook, and I don't even think it was released in the US. Maybe I'm wrong, but I had to order it from England. I had to pay a stupid amount of money for it, and it took forever to ship. And I finally got it in the mail, and I hated it. It made it to my least favorite books of that year. But I did read it, and I did go to stupid costs to get it. Question number 11. Is there a book you struggled to finish because you refused to DNF? I think it has to be Nevernight, right? Because I'm very comfortable with DNFing. I'm very comfortable with putting down a book that I'm not enjoying because reading is a hobby, and why in the world would I make my hobby not fun? But Nevernight, I had DNF'd twice or 3 times. And then my subscribers voted. I let my subscribers vote on a book that I DNF'd that I would finish, and Nevernight won, and I finished it, and I hated it, so it's gotta be that one. If you haven't seen that video, there it is. Question number 12, what are 3 or some of your main book goals for the following year? I have not started planning out goals for the following year, for 2021. I, this year, became a mood reader. We've talked about it, and I don't really know how I'm going to handle goals for next year because I'm going to let myself be a mood reader. I'm not going to try to force myself to read stuff, but I think probably what I'll do is just continue to try to be really mindful about what I'm reading, because it's easy for me to constantly pick up fantasy because fantasy is just a genre that I'm very, very drawn to, but I love so many different genres. And so I try to be really mindful of, okay, how much fantasy have you picked up this month? What's another genre that you love, that you have books that you're looking forward to? Pick up one of those and then get back to fantasy. So I want to continue to be mindful of that and be sure to be giving care and attention to other genres that I love reading, and I just don't prioritize because I prioritize fantasy so much. So I think that's really my only goal of 2021, is to continue doing that, just continuing to make sure that I'm reading other genres too. Even though fantasy is still the genre that I read the most, I usually read about half the books I read every month are fantasy and half are a compilation of other books. I'd like to keep it that way if I want to, and if I don't, then I won't. Reading is fun. I won't make it a chore. Question number 13. Have you ever had the privilege of converting someone into a reader by inspiration or by your incessant nagging? Yes, I have. My husband, when we met, had probably only read enough books that he could count on his hand. And I like reading a lot. So when we first married, I started reading books to him. I'd read him a chapter in a book every single night. And that was very nice of him to let me do. Eventually, he was so into the story that a chapter a night wasn't good enough for him, but my throat hurt. So he started just taking the book and reading ahead without me, which is just the nicest thing you can do to a reader, because you've now fallen in love with what I love, and I'm fine with reading the book separately and just discussing it with you afterwards. And he is the type of reader that he loves reading when he does it, and when he's not reading, he just does other things and doesn't really worry about getting back to reading. So every single celebration we have, whether it be my birthday, Christmas, our anniversary, Valentine's Day, whatever, when he's supposed to get me a gift, I always ask, in lieu of him getting me something, I always ask for him to just read one of my favorite books. And that's what we've done for years. And he loves reading now because he is forced to read books as my gift, and then he comes out loving those books. We discuss it a ton, and he wants to continue on reading. So I have successfully converted my husband into a reader. He typically will read one book a month, one book every other month, and I'm thrilled by that. I'm thrilled by it. Question number 14, describe what books mean to you in 5 words. Okay, reset, rest, learning, exploration, and joy. Did I do that right? Was I supposed to make it into a sentence? Well, that's what you got. That is the book addiction tag. I would love to continue to chat with you about any of these things in the comments. I'll have I'll have the questions as well as the original creator of the tag all in the description. So if you want to answer the questions in my comment section and chat with me about it that way, I would love that. I post videos every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.